Hello everybody. So I've already shot the West Nile Virus survivor story. There was some very key points, some information that I missed that I wanted to go back over real quick. So I'm just going to slide this into the introduction and then we're going to go ahead and get to the survivor story. So what is West Nile virus? Well, West Nile virus is transmitted through mosquitoes, and whenever you get bit, it enters the West Nile virus into your body and it causes encephalitis, which is inflammation of the brain. So basically, you get bit, it inflames your brain swells up, and it can cause all sorts of issues like my left hand here. You know, I severed the nerve from my brain to my hand because the brain expanded, and that was the outcome of that. Also, it causes the dizziness issue that I have. I'm not really sure how the dizziness issue happened from the West Nile virus, but I got it, so it definitely caused it. How was I diagnosed? I was diagnosed on my second spinal tap. You know, I had my first spinal tap and I was like, hey, you know, the first spinal tap was so fun, let me go in there and have a second spinal tap to see what's going on. They didn't find it on the first one. On the second spinal tap, that's whenever they found the virus in my spinal fluid. Now, my left arm coming back, I had mentioned that my left arm was completely paralyzed in the video, and my left arm was completely paralyzed in the video at first, and then I started doing the physical rehabilitation, and the shoulder came back, the bicep came back, the tricep came back, and the forearm came back. Not like my right arm, but it's still there, so hey, what, you know, I can't complain. But the muscle didn't come back. All right, so now next, help from the government, which this can actually fit in with today's pandemic and the coronavirus and people who get sick, right? So did I get help from the government? Unfortunately, I did not get any help from the government. I was 22 years old whenever the whole process was over. I was 23 years old. I believe that the current job I'd had for less than a year, so I did not, you know, I did not get unemployment because I believe you have to be employed for at least a year. Now, I had been employed with a bunch of different jobs over the years, which I had heard the gentleman at the Social Security office said that I would be able to get Social Security if I was accepted for it. So the nice gentleman at the Social Security office, when I was talking to him, he seemed like a real nice, sincere guy. He was asking me, you know, so tell me about what happened, and then what are your symptoms, and then here's the key question. So anybody who has coronavirus and you're being affected and you can't work and you're trying to get Social Security, he said, are you getting better? And I went from being almost dead to not almost being dead, and my arm was kind of coming back a little bit, and I went from not being able to walk to slightly being able to walk with crutches. So I was like, oh yeah, you know, I'm getting better. And those key words, yeah, I think I'm getting better, denied. Social Security denied. So I was not getting any government help at this time. Luckily, my dad, he was helping me through this time financially. I had went to a church and I think they had written me a check for like $300. And I mean, over the course of 3 months or 6 months of being unemployed, $300, it was much appreciated, but didn't really help that much. But my dad really got me through it. All right, and now another thing, why do I put the problem with vaccines in the title of this video? The problem with vaccines. Well, the doctor told me that people my age normally, healthy people my age normally do not have severe symptoms from West Nile virus. You normally get it, and sometimes you don't even feel it. The reason why it hit me so bad, and I was in the hospital for a month and in a coma for 2 weeks, and my arm was paralyzed, and I still have dizziness issues to this day, was that hepatitis B vaccination that I got. The antigen was put in my body, the antibodies in my body were trying to fight off the antigen. My immune system was compromised from that hepatitis B vaccine, and that is why the West Nile virus affected me so bad. The doctor said that it normally affects the elderly population, people with underlying health diseases, and the younger, very young population. But mostly the elderly population. So I just wanted to cover those topics real quick. I wanted to make this as thorough as possible. Now the video of my survival story is about to begin, and I appreciate you listening, and enjoy the video. Hello, YouTube world. This is my wife's channel. I don't normally post videos like this, but I felt that this is an interesting story. Okay, this is the story of when I got West Nile virus. I need to look at this camera right here, I guess, not look right here. I got West Nile virus when I was 23 years old. I'm 37 years old now, and I'm still living with the effects. So if you've seen some of me or Gina's videos before, and you might have seen my hand. This is my left hand, and this is what happened after I got West Nile virus. See, the whole muscle right here is gone, and all of the muscle, you can see the tendons popping out right there. And this is my normal hand, and this is my not normal hand. So this is actually my left hand. Everything's backwards with videos, and then this is my right hand. So real quick, just to go through the story with you, I don't want to make this video too long, but I want to just inform people out there of what can happen to you. You know, we live in Houston, Texas. I was off Dairy Ashford and Westheimer. At the time, I had a job where I was working a night shift at a nursing home, and it was down the street from my apartment. So I would ride my bicycle to work every night. I was actually 22 at the time, almost 23 years old. And one night I was riding my bike. A little backstory of what happened, and this is the reason why you should be very careful when you do vaccines. I had a hepatitis B vaccination at the nursing home where I worked at, and it was three consecutive shots that I had to get this hepatitis B vaccination. If I remember right, it wasn't even an option. They just told me you had to get the hepatitis B vaccination, or I probably wouldn't have got it. I'm a healthy 22-year-old, so I get all three shots. Basically, they inject you with a weak version of the hepatitis B virus, which is the antigen, and then your body sees that there's a disease in you, and it wants to fight the disease off, so it creates antibodies. So your body's immune system is busy fighting off this vaccine, which I didn't even know at the time. When that happens, your immune system is compromised because you are fighting off the hepatitis B vaccination or whatever vaccination you get. So during this time, I was riding my bicycle to work one night, and I guess I got bit by a mosquito. Within I don't know, maybe a couple days, I started to have these symptoms where I was having trouble walking straight. And I can remember being in my apartment. I just moved into this apartment complex. I hadn't even got my phone turned on yet. And I can remember laying in bed hallucinating. My sheets were moving. And I didn't really like going to the doctors, you know, but even me at this time, I was going, okay, I'm having trouble walking and my sheets are moving. Something serious is going on. And all I could think about was, oh, I got to call into work. I have to call into work sick. And I never call into work sick, ever. And I just remember dreading having to make a phone call that I was going to come into work sick, because I know my coworkers depended on me and I didn't want them to have to do my job because I was sick. And I remember walking to the front office of the apartment complex, and because I hadn't had my phone turned on yet, because I had just gotten this apartment. And they could see that something was seriously wrong with me, because I could not dial the numbers on their telephone, because, you know, they're letting me use their phone. And they said, do you want an ambulance? And I said, yes, I should probably get an ambulance. You know, I can't even dial a phone right now. And so the ambulance came. They said that I had something like 104-degree temperature, some crazy temperature, and I didn't even feel like I had a temperature. They said, sir, did you know you have 104 temperature? And I said, no, it doesn't even feel like I have a temperature. So they took me in the ambulance straight to the hospital. And I can remember being in the hospital, and all I could think was, I need a phone. I need to call work. I don't even think I didn't have a cell phone at the time, because I went to the apartment office to try to use their phone to call in sick for work. And I remember getting to the hospital going, oh, you know, I got to call work. I have to call work. This was my main concern. I need to call work and let them know that I can't come in. I can remember making the phone call saying, I'm in the hospital. I can't come into work. The lady was very nice. She said, okay, you know, we'll take care of whatever you have to take care of. And that was the last thing that I remember until I woke up 2 weeks later. I had been in a coma, and when I woke up, they asked me, do you know how long you've been out? And I said, I don't know. Have I been out for a day? Have I been out for 2 days? And they said, no, you know, you've been out for 2 weeks, unconscious for 2 weeks. Now, I wasn't exactly unconscious. I was still moving around and doing things and saying things, like the weirdest, most random things. People would tell me, the nurses and my family members would tell me that I would say the most weirdest, random things. Like I told my grandma that I wanted to jiggy, because getting jiggy with it with Will Smith was really popular at the time. #Will Smith. but my brain doesn't remember any of this. And whenever I woke up, my left arm was completely paralyzed, and I was left-handed. Like, I was left-handed, and I woke up and my left arm was paralyzed. And when I woke up, I was still so out of it. I was like, my left arm's not working. Like, my entire left arm was not working. It was completely dead, just laying there. And my right arm on my wrist, or on my left arm, no, on my right arm on my wrist, it was all bruised up right here, because apparently whenever I was in this sort of conscious, unconscious coma thing, the nurses were trying to take blood and do all these tests on me, and I didn't know what was going on, so I was trying to like fight them and hit them. So I'm sorry, nurses, if y'all are watching this, my bad. I wasn't trying. I was in survival mode or something at the time. I don't even remember. And they'd strapped my right arm to the bed because I was trying to hit them. So it was just completely all bruised up right here from being strapped and me trying to rip my arm off. And this is what West Nile virus did to me, all because I had a hepatitis B vaccination. My body could not fight off the West Nile virus when the mosquito bit me, because I had had that vaccination. If I had not had that hepatitis B vaccination, the doctor said that I probably wouldn't have gotten sick, and I would have still had full function in my left arm. So just be careful whenever you get vaccines out there. So I'm up from my coma. I was in the hospital for about 2 more weeks after that. I went from being 175 pounds to like 150, 155 pounds. It attacked all of my muscles. I was so weak. I couldn't walk by myself. I couldn't bathe by myself. And when I got out of the hospital, they put me on a bunch of medications. They told me, the neurologist told me that he wanted to do an electric shock therapy on my hand, where they would send shock waves into my hand. He said it was going to hurt pretty bad. And he said that that was going to let him know if I was ever going to have full function of my left hand again. And I just said, you know what? I don't want to take any of these medicines. I was really hard-headed. I don't want to take these medicines. I don't want to have the shock treatment. If my left hand doesn't come back, it doesn't come back. And I made a vow. I said, you know what? I'm not going to shave until I can shave with my left hand. Well, 6 months went by, and I still wasn't able to use my left hand, and I looked like a white, skinny Osama bin Laden with a gigantic white beard, and I decided, okay, well, I'm going to have to shave with my right hand. So yeah, that didn't really work out too good for me. When I got out of the hospital, I was on crutches for a month or 2 months. It took about 6 months before I could run again. I remember me and my dad, we would play tennis for rehab, and just to try to get strong again. And I can remember he hit the ball kind of far away from me. I don't know if he did it on purpose. He passed away from cancer a long time ago, but I still have these very fond memories of him. And I remember trying to run to get to the ball, and I felt like I could get to it, like I can do this, and my legs just wouldn't do it. And I remember just tumbling to the floor. And so that's basically my story. Now I have this permanent dizziness that I live with. If somebody jumped into my body, they would be like, holy crap, what the hell is going on with me right now? But I've learned to live with this dizziness, and I've learned to live, to do everything. I can still grab. I still have a little bit of power in my left hand, but it's like I can't use scissors, and I can't write with my left hand. So I do all that with my right hand. So I compensated. It's amazing what the body can do and what the brain can do whenever you don't have any other choice, I appreciate you guys listening to me. I know this is my wife's channel. It went from 200 subscribers to 1,400 subscribers in the last week. There's one video that's went from just a few hundred views to like almost 300,000 views in just a week. So I figured this was a real opportune time to try to educate you guys about West Nile virus, what it can do to you, and vaccines. Sort of the drawback. Everybody thinks, oh, vaccines are so great, vaccines are so great. Well, if I wouldn't have had that vaccine, I would have, I probably would have escaped this whole ordeal. But, in the end, it's probably made me stronger. So if you like this video, hit like, subscribe. And if there's any neurologists out there that are watching this video, especially in the Houston area, comment in the bottom, and maybe let me know, is there anything that I can do to get my left hand back? Because like I said, I don't really like going to the doctors and going to a neurologist to try to get my left hand back. how long has it been? 14 years since this has happened. It's not like something that I'm really that interested in doing. But if there was any interesting suggestions or any interesting notes or any education that you could give me about tests that I could have to possibly get my left hand back, which I don't think there is. I think the nerve has been severed to where this is the way that it's always going to be. But that's okay. I used to be very self-conscious about it, and I still am really self-conscious about it. But I have the protection of the internet, so I can do this video, and I'm in the comfort of my house, and I can sort of explain what happened to me. And this is therapy. This is a sort of therapy for me to do this, to let this story out and to show my disability. And anyways, thank you for listening, and have a good day.